All right, what's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be doing a review for Fully Coy Alternative, episode 5 this week. Next week's the last episode. We finally got our episode that is basically focusing on pets. I knew that we had to have an episode based on every single character within this group that has been introduced from the first episode. And I could say this was a solid episode just right off the bat. What do you think about the episode?
Really, really emotional, especially like you got the quiet one giving so much emotion, the most emotion out of all of them. It's like, wow, this is okay. Okay. It's a very good episode.
See, and like I feel like they were dropping hints, like even in like the first episode, like it's just like the way that she's been acting the whole time. She's normally just been quiet, and it's like usually the quiet ones that there's probably some stuff going on in the background. And even I said that I think in like the first or second review, I was like, yeah, there's probably something going on with her at home or something like that. So I was right, but they didn't really dive into it. And I did notice a few things about this week's episode. A few of the elements that they introduced, like with the robot that they introduced at like the latter half of the episode, when Pets goes to the commune center and she throws the robot, it like comes alive, and then the robot starts eating stuff. It reminded me of that small robot. You remember the small robot from the first season? That
Yeah, I know exactly what you're
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. Cause it just like the robot in the first season of Fully Cooley, this robot it ate stuff and it grew, and I feel like that. I feel like the design of the robot isn't really anything too isn't really anything too impressive. I mean, they've done this, like I said, they've done this kind of before with this small robot becoming a bigger robot, and just the design of the robot, it wasn't anything really special. It kind of had it kind of looked like a giant hand, and we've kind of seen. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we've kind of seen that kind of design before, so I wasn't too impressed with like the design of this robot this time. We finally got to see Kana's NO channel really activate this time, and this time it really activated in a way that we haven't really. Because you mentioned, I believe it was like last review or whatever, that her NO channel hasn't really been activating much like Nauta and Hidomi. Like it's been different with her. And so in this episode, she ends up absorbing the robot and everything by the end of the episode. But man, I'm kind of jumping the gun here because I'm kind of talking about the kind of last part of the episode. So let's kind of backtrack. First part of the episode, we get to see when Pets and Kana first met, and I like the fact that because so like before we started, I rewatched the last ending scene of this episode because I really got that. Like you said, this was a very emotional. Like you were telling me, this is a very emotional episode. By the end of it, that emotional scene at the end. But the thing that Pet said to Kana, like when you really think about it, she's right. She's absolutely right. Like Kana, the whole time, she makes everything about her. Even if she's not doing it intentionally, she literally makes everything about her. If you go back and watch, the other episodes, when she's butting into to Mosan's business, or she's butting into the to uh Hijiri's relationship, with her boyfriend. Like she's butting into all that, and she's making it all about her in those episodes. If you go back, like she says, like within one of the episodes, she was talking about how she didn't want Hijiri to break up with her boyfriend because uh because I guess because they're friends or whatever, but it really wasn't any of her business. So what Pets was saying, like she was really laying into her, and I just I like the fact that I like the fact that they at least attempted to give this character something to do, and because she's not. That's one thing I can say about this series, or at least, well, I should say the season, is that unlike last season, as much as I love last season, like I've said a million times before, like Marco and what's the other the fat guy from last season? I can't remember the guy's name. But see, that's how forgettable he is. But it's like this character, even though she hasn't done that much, and even though she's probably talked, she probably hasn't really talked as much as Mosan and Hijiri, but she's a way better character than at least Marco and the fat guy. She's like right up there with the rest of them. So I can at least say that they kind of fleshed out her character in this episode, and they actually made you actually give a crap about what she was going through, even if they didn't really um dive into it. But I'm kind of talking a lot. What do you think about all of that?
Honestly, the fact that Pets showed like showed the most sense, like I'm not used to like the quiet one just being like, okay, wait a minute, all right, you know what? You make everything about you. You're so selfish, man. And just like, I know why. I know why because Kana wants everything to stay exactly the same. She doesn't want to grow up. That's exactly why she's done all this without even really realizing that she's making this all about her. Until like now, it's until now it's and up until like, Joe, she's helping her friends. No, you're not. You're trying to keep everything the exact same. And for someone to actually call her out on this, especially the longtime friend, no less, it's like, y'all have known each other for that long now. Okay. I'm
And
just
you
still
know
not
what's
used to have.
and like what's crazy, not to cut you off. You know what's crazy is that I'm happy that they didn't have Haruko like call her out on it. Instead, just have someone else call her out on it, because Haruko's usually kind of like the one giving sage advice, the one giving wise advice to Kana and her friends. And then even at the end of the episode, she asked Pets, "Are you still gonna go? Are you sure? Are you sure that's what you want to do? Are you sure you want to go to Mars with your family or whatever?" But yeah, I like the fact that you brought up the fact that Kana is trying to keep everything the same though. But go ahead.
So yeah, it's like I'm saying, as much as I'm not used to seeing the quiet one being the more, I don't know, show the most sense and actually call out the main character for his or her wrongdoings. It's like it's kind of weird, but at the same time, it's like it's refreshing in a sense because it's like we don't see this often. It's like we don't see this we don't ever see this often. So I loved it.
Like you can
I
tell,
absolutely love that.
like you can tell, like she's crying at the end. Well, they were both crying at the end, but you can tell like she just kept stuff bottled up inside the whole time. So you can tell that she's like, it was a long time coming. She just wanted to tell her off.
She stored this in for years. Her patience is like never underestimate someone's patience because my God, she must have been holding that in for a long, long time. But man, you're right about the Haruko thing, about the Haruko being the one to give sage advice. Like you're right on that. It's usually her to do it, but again, again, this is so refreshing to actually have someone this close to somebody, and it's like, wait a minute, you've been an absolute dick the entire time. You are a dick. You are selfish. Like, oh my God,
Yeah,
you're
and
such a
speaking of
selfish
selfish,
prick.
like she's apparently, I guess, the reason why Medical Mechanica, they have like the irons are popping up and everything. Like she's kind of the cause of it, because she's really pissing Medical Mechanica off with what she's doing, and like the irons are basically appearing across the world, causing the climate to change. And like throughout the first part of the episode, and really throughout the entire episode, everyone's just going around like, "Oh my God, it's like so hot," and that makes sense because they're irons across the world. And of course, you know, what do irons do? Irons get hot, so naturally it would make the entire Earth hot. So I I, I like that. I like that little what do you want to call it? I like that little, I guess, attention to detail. I guess there. But rumors of Earth basically possibly being destroyed by these irons is like spreading. There's kind of like mass panic, I guess you could say, and the rich and the government are basically leaving to Mars. You know, I guess like middle class or like people that are poor or whatever. Like not everybody can afford to go to Mars, and apparently, Kana didn't know, but he, Jerry, and Mosan, they already knew that Pets was that Pets came from a rich family, and so throughout the episode when like Pets is missing, and then Kana ends up running into her mother while walking home from school, and then her mother, like once they get to the house, her mother starts acting weird, and she said something like she was afraid to get in trouble with her husband. What do you think that was all about? Cause I'm thinking like maybe there was, maybe there's like maybe she like maybe her husband's like abusive or like controlling or whatever, and that could explain like why Pets kind of acted the way that she did. Kind of, I don't want to say kind of closed off because she wasn't closed off at all, but like the fact that Kana didn't
To
really
herself.
know. Yeah, I mean, like the fact that Kana didn't really know much about her. I guess. I mean, what do you think
Um,
the mother is going through at the house? What do you think was going on? Because like it from the way
I
that they made it, from the way that they set up that scene, it seemed like Kana had like never went to the pet's house.
That's weird in itself. It's like y'all been friends for this long, and it's like y'all haven't. You've never been over to her house yet. Like really, but as far as the father thing goes, I think it's a mixture of both. So with the way she acted and in that scene, I think it's a mixture of both. Like he's controlling, but he's also kind of maybe sort of abusive. I think controlling, yeah, but either way, like I'm getting in trouble with my husband. Please tell me what she is. I'm like, wait,
Yeah, just the way that
wait.
she was acting, like that's kind of strange. But it wouldn't be the first time that this show has kind of touched on like sort of like a realistic home problem that I guess kids might end up having to deal with at home with their parents or whatever. Because going back to season one, there was that girl who's I think her father was like cheating on her mother or something like that, and she was afraid her mother and father were gonna get a divorce or something like that. I can't
Oh,
remember
season one.
the I can't remember the name of the girl, but I know there was like a storyline there. I don't know if you remember who I'm talking about.
I do. Yeah, I do.
She she was the one that I think she was the one with the glasses.
The fake glasses.
Yeah, yeah. But that kind of
I know.
reminded
I know
me,
exactly.
that kind of reminded me of that tonight, just a little bit,
I can
kind of.
see it.
But overall, like, what do you think about like I guess animation? Animation, voice acting tonight. Anything strange or anything kind of notable?
Animation on point. Voice acting, like it's been on point. Like I don't think I can like say anything bad about the voice acting at all. Like it's it's good. It's great. It's just as great as it was like in the first episode all the way up to this point. So it's like yeah, they sound how they're supposed to sound. Animation's like I don't see any hiccups there at all, and it's like with the way alternative has been, it's a big difference from progressive, and it's almost like night and day with these two. But I think that's a good thing. Like this hits. I don't know what it is, but it's like uh, it's so hard to explain. It's really hard to explain. Like one's night, one's day, but I with how alternative has been, I think with both of these seasons, it probably would have done better with 12 episodes for both to flesh everything out. I think Progressive would have been more better received, and everyone is singing, especially on this end, is singing praises about how good alternative has been and how it's like so different from progressive. So, but
I mean, that's not
I
really
don't know,
what
man.
I'm hearing. I'm still hearing a lot of people just complaining that it like I've been hearing people complaining that both this season and progressive doesn't really stand up to season one. I'm hearing I read somewhere that even in Japan they're like they don't they don't like these new seasons. It seems like actually these new seasons are getting better reception here than in Japan, or at least that's what I've read somewhere. I don't know how true that is, but honestly, I feel like people, when it comes to Fully Cooley, like people just have, I guess, I don't want to say unrealistic expectations, but it's like it's not going to live up to your standards because a lot of people hold season one to such a high, I guess a high,
Right.
in high regard, in high regard. So I mean, honestly, it's okay. It's okay for me. I mean, I like each season so far for what they're doing different and what they kind of bring to the table. But yeah, I think we've kind of covered just about everything about this episode, so we can kind of give our scores now. So you can go first.
8 and 8. I really can't wait to see like how's everything gonna like how everything's gonna come together at the in the last episode, especially like with the promo being like a bunch of Conti wannabes coming out of the woodwork
Yeah,
to
I
to
didn't get to see the promo, so.
so yeah, you gotta go back and look at that. It's like what? It's like okay, this feels like somewhere between like season 1 and 2 now. Like okay, we got the sadness out the way. It's time to do some battling. So anyway, I give this an 8. Really good episode, and it. I think Pets is probably my favorite character from like Kana's like little group, and to see her like erupt like this just made me probably like her even more. So awesome, and because honestly, Kana needed to hear this. She desperately needed to hear this, and especially when someone like a sister to her. Yeah, A plus. You get an A from me. What is your score, buddy?
I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. I do find it kind of funny that it kind of left on a cliffhanger, obviously. Um, Something else I was thinking about. I was like, this kind of reminds me of last season with Hidomi, that episode where like her headphones had locked up or whatever, and then she was like unconscious at the end of the episode. It's kind of like same thing here. So I think they did a good job, kind of leaving you with that cliffhanger, kind of wondering what's gonna happen, with the next episode. Only reason I give it a 9 out of 10 is because there was, again, as I've been bringing up in this review, there are just a lot of things that were kind of too samey, I guess, too kind of reminiscent of past seasons, and it's not really necessarily a negative, but I kind of would have liked like for instance, like what I said with the robot design, they could have probably done something a little bit more different with that, and it kind of feels like it's kind of going over the same beats that we've seen in the past seasons, but I'm not really gonna knock too much off for that. That's why I'll just give it a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
All right, so thank you guys for watching this review. Like the video, subscribe, and we'll see you next week for the finale episode. Thank you guys for watching. We're out of here. Peace.